Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast channel. My name is Jed. Wait, how are you going? I just knocked my headphone jack. How are you going? So, we have been doing some fantastic work in bringing together what we've been reading in the text using two models. And, because we are doing understanding, we're doing real philosophy. We are... Okay, I think it's set. We are understanding the structure, the method, how it is we are reading. So we're not only reading, we're learning what reading is. We're not just engaging in understanding, we're learning what understanding is. And we're also learning its opposite. Belief.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
It's too early in the stream for my soundboard to be attacking me. Shit.
You should know that you need to quit living your current life and go start a new one as a minor.
Okay. I will not start a new life as a minor. We have been bringing together the terms in a giant analogy, and then we and of course you've been encouraged to fill in the gaps and find your own missing terms within that analogy. But also, let's bring it up. Let's look at it while we talk about it. So here's the mega analogy. As belief is to understanding, so too its functioning, so too its understanding of knowledge and truth, so too the life you live. So as belief is to understanding as A and B, the two kinds of ways human beings can apprehend through time, so too its functioning of interpretation, projecting what isn't there and being blocked from seeing what is to critical thinking. So we can go through the text and develop a huge mega list of lesser is to greater. But last time we saw, where does analogy come from? And we saw of the categories of selfers, the aspects of reality or mind. We saw it makes use of truth, the triad, lesser, greater to ultimate. Belief to understanding. There's one more term we have to fill in. That's the principal term, that which stands above its expression as the greater, understanding, and its expression as the lesser, the false, human sickness, must be a principle that can be reflected in these two different ways. And then we went on to say, hang on a second, this will give us a whole list of terms. But how do we unify it into our own understanding where we can see it for ourselves and function through it for ourselves in our own ability to reason, reflect, bring ideas together, and communicate it with our friends? Well, that's the dialectic, isn't it? And as analogy makes use of this basketball team, truth, the triads, dialectic makes use of the duads, the team oneness. Because all of the primary building blocks of understanding, whole, part, same, different, they fall under the category of one and many, or even more primary, self and other. So the structure of the logos, the structure of the intelligible nature of reality that we can use for our own understanding. Why is that big red dot there? You don't belong there. The dialectic makes use of self and other. 4 categories: definition, demonstration, division, and conclusion. But conclusion has 2 parts. So you can use this to explore any idea, both whether it exists, create a universe where the idea exists, to explore whether or not that idea must follow, or if contradictions and absurdities follow, to show that it can't exist, just as Elia and Joseph played with at the beginning of the text when they explored, hey, let's take this idea that everything is relative and see what follows. Well, if everything is relative to your own personal perspective, then as someone is close to you, they might look really big, but as they walk away, they might get smaller and smaller in your perception. So they're shrinking. That would be crazy if everybody actually shrunk as they walked away into the distance. So that was how Elia and Joseph together were able to explore the subject, whether or not everything is relative. So we can explore any idea, like understanding and belief, the two main ideas of the text. But also other things mentioned: spirituality, enlightenment, physical sciences, beauty, love, justice. These things were touched on. Is there enough to use in the text to do the dialectic on them? Well, have a play. You definitely have enough to use for belief and understanding. So self and other, what's the thing itself in relation to itself? In other words, the definition. How does that define self function to another? Oh, how does it demonstrate itself or function? That functioning that you've now defined, how does that function to others? Oh, division. How does it play out in other areas? And as a result of these expressions in all the areas, or living a life like this in terms of whether you want to live a life of belief or understanding, what happens at the end? How does it conclude? So from those divisions, can you synthesize, pull out a single other, a key idea, or a unifying idea of all of those different things, or a causal idea, or something that's more primary that expresses itself through all those divisions? There are lots of ways that you can pull out a single key term that synthesizes that division. And an example that we were just talking about, we saw Elia and Joseph explore whether or not somebody shrinks as they walk in the distance. Hey, it appears to you that the planets revolve around the Earth. That means that the heliocentric model of our solar system is crazy. If you can't perceive something, then you don't. If knowledge is perception, then when you turn your lights off and you turn over to your girlf or boyf, you don't know who's lying next to you because you can't perceive them. And you won't know what to do with them. Ooh.
I've been a bad little girl.
Hey, calm down, Emma.
Look at this broad.
You'll say, I can't look at this broad. So, and from that, the synthesis was, what was the key idea that Elia was able to pull out of all of those divisions? Absurdities follow. You're a crazy person if you think that. So there's the synthesis, and you take that synthesis and you bring it back to the original idea that you defined. That's analysis. So now what you started with, the definition itself, you now have a new insight into that idea. So you return to the beginning. That's ousia. Ousia. What makes us different from the animals? We have the capacity for self-reflection and to do so with words. Well, here is the structure of words, or the logos. And at the end, we return to the start. There's our ousia. So this structure, we're playing the game of reality. So we return to the original idea with a greater idea or further insight. That means, well, you've got a new definition, which means you can do another dialectic starting with a new definition. So you can spiral upwards. And because we're exploring things that exist eternally, that are transpersonal, non-physical, things, units of understanding or mind or self. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
There's our caveman, who reminds us of 1, 2, 3. Then it can change you. Or if these are things that if this is a skill of understanding that you're practicing, it's a kind of learning that you can take with you to explore any idea, read any book, not just in this lifetime, but at any reincarnation, at any time, in any culture, in any galaxy, in any multiverse. Because it's transpersonal. You're not learning how to, play basketball. That might not be something that exists 1,000 years in the future. You're not learning how to manipulate the stock market to exploit people for personal profit so you can buy a third yacht, as a lot of people do. Can't take that with you. Therefore, because it's transpersonal, universal, it'll affect every area of your life or division. And it's a conclusion that you can take with you beyond even this lifetime. That's the significance of understanding. That's number 3. Why do we call understanding 3? Because there's you bringing the parts into a whole. 3 elements. Or it's what we saw at the end of our analogy. All of these terms of either belief or understanding is a life lived, but also a relationship you can have. You can bring together all of the things that we learned about belief and all of the things we learn about understanding and apply them yourself. Test them for yourself. So all of these key terms that we've defined and how they've demonstrated themselves in different divisions, one of those divisions is relationships that you can apply in your life. That's turning this understanding into your direct experience, confirming your understanding, turning it into knowledge, allowing you to apply it to what's meaningful. So there's the movement from understanding to knowledge and meaning, but also you can benefit. So reading this book can change your life, change the sorts of relationships you have and the sort of people you seek to have relationships with. You don't want to be Aaliyah seeking a dude like Harry. She needs to say,
Unbelievable sluts these days.
To Harry, and say to Harry,
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking, right now.
That would be Ellery, Aaliyah and Harry. That relationship built on unifying, playing out all of these divisions in a kind of synthesis. How does that conclude? You spend your life further entrenching yourself in your beliefs, images, conflict, everything that is false about self and reality. That was your specific job of this reincarnation to address the cause of all your injustice. You found a girl or a guy to solidify that ignorance. Congratulations, your death will probably be bad and your reincarnation will be bad. If this is your karma, if that is the accumulated effects of all of your thoughts, feelings, actions, and deeds in your lifetime, well, wouldn't that be what you bring with you? So terrible conclusion, or being stuck. Stuck in, as Socrates says, the chains of your problems and the prison of reincarnation. So you can imagine a prisoner in a prison, but also in chains. That's a metaphor from the Phaedo. Whereas, learning what understanding is and learning to practice understanding, all of the aspects of this mega analogy we covered in the last 3 episodes, gives you Aaliyah and Joseph. Celebrity name, Jolia. So instead of a philodoxia, a love of opinions or a love of beliefs, philodianoia, a love of understanding. So there's you. If you're abroad, you're this one. If you're a fella, you're this one. And you have a shared ideal that you both seek to allow the through the development of understanding. The two kinds of questions we discovered in the text: freeing ourselves from pathologos beliefs, so questions about beliefs and our own specific false limiting belief, called the pathologos or sick logos, and also give to birth questions about 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you, caveman.
Win.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, calm down, caveman. The transpersonal. Those higher true ideas we're also here to give birth from, and we can't do one without the other. You can't seek the blocks unless you're doing something that surfaces the blocks. And you can't reach that excellence unless you address those blocks that specifically surface to block that excellence. So, therefore developing a mastery of the dialectic, the skill of understanding, but also the higher art of the dialectic, philosophical midwifery. The application of the structure or model, or the model of dialectic, there's our sameness from the text, applied differently to different patients. This is what the imitator of the surgeon couldn't do. They could only relate to sameness of physical appearance. They could only copy the thing that they were imitating as a apprentice. Whereas understanding has a transpersonal, a universal, an eternal model. That's the sameness they relate to, but also they can relate to differences. They can know when they should or shouldn't do surgery, or how to adjust the surgery because they know how it works. For us, as souls, developing souls to know mind and self, we can therefore apply the model of understanding, dialectic, to where someone is at relative to how far pregnant they are with these two kinds of questions. That's philosophical midwifery. We can free ourselves from our pathologos. We can experience mastering and integrating, transformative, and enjoying. It's the greatest kind of fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy?
Where's the whimsy?
childlike
Where's the childlike wonder?
wonder?
Dude. Right here, dude. Understanding mind and the self. Therefore, we can participate in and function through our highest function, our purpose for being here, and the funnest game. And we have a new sound drop. I forgot what they are. Let's see.
I have known people who go to therapy, but they don't actually want to grow and improve and change as people. They just use all the therapy speak to help, continue being a shitty person. You have to want to get better.
So that's the thing. You have to want to participate. So that principle that we heard from the Oracle on the new sound drop, hooray for a new sound drop, gives me time to drink some coffee, is the principle of, hey, this is true philosophy, whereas those who don't want to get better, who don't seek to become pregnant with and deliver insight about a high meaningful question, and don't want to remove their bullshit false beliefs that cause their injustice and harm, if they don't want to do it, they will think philosophy is about debate. Using therapy speak or philosophy speak to, what was the quote?
I have known people who go to therapy, but they don't actually want to grow and improve and change as people. They just use all the therapy speak to help continue being a shitty person. You
continue
have to
being
want
a
to
shitty
get better.
To continue being a shitty person. Right? That's why when we get the weird chatters that come through here and they say, what's the debate about here? They think that's what philosophy is. And our go-to question is, well, there are only really 3 questions that you can ask, which is interesting because they reflect the 3 axioms, the principles of reality that you have to trust in to begin the game until you develop enough understanding through analogy and dialectic and applying it to your life and relationships. So to have understanding and knowledge to confirm them. What are those principles? The axioms that problems are solvable through the pathologos, our excellence is reachable through the self-logos, and you have a guide for each through your dreams. Isn't that interesting that the three fundamental questions you can ask someone is, where are you at? In terms of what you're interested in, your goals. Where are you stuck? What difficulties are you facing? Or where are you at with understanding those difficulties? And what were your dreams like last night? So in other words, every one of those questions are personally meaningful. If you are not curious about becoming a better person, you can't do philosophy. You're not in the game. You're going to get a degree in philosophy so you can debate your opinions, ending up living a life further entrenching yourself like Ellery, Elia and Harry. Further entrenching yourself in your ignorance, living a life of harm, doing harm to your soul and your development. I wouldn't want to roll that dice. With how that will affect your death and reincarnation. Equally so if you're not, what do they call it? Maxing. Excellence maxing, or goal maxing, or self-maxing. We've got another one for self-maxing, don't we? New drop. Was it this one?
I have known people who go to therapy. I have known people who go to. I have known people who.
Okay, I didn't put it on the soundboard properly. Let me fix that real quick. Hold, please. Here we go. We put it on the soundboard properly.
You actually have to address the systemic inequalities. The people who believe that there should be hierarchies and that they should be above other people, that should just be addressed rather than just trying to segregate shit. Whoa, crazy.
Whoa.
These are, I feel like, lessons that children understand. And conservatives are so stunted that they don't understand these things. You literally are dumber than children. Children.
Another sound drop. Right, address the systemic causes of inequality and injustice, rather than listening to belief. So, we don't want people who think philosophy is about debate. We want people who actually seek those higher principles or are addressing the principles of problems. It's not a compromise. If someone says, well, I answered one of your questions, now you asked one of my questions. No, that's not how it works. A patient doesn't go into a doctor's office and say, all right, you prescribe me one drug, and then I'll prescribe me one drug. And then I'll prescribe, you do a surgery on me, and then I'll do a surgery on you. We'll compromise, right? Isn't that what fascists demand? We MAGA, we Nazis, we religious people, we capitalists, we're just one opinion and all things are relative to belief. Bullshit. You're not in the game. You are a sick person. You shouldn't get rulership. Anybody who wants to do harm is not allowed to be a pilot or a mechanic or a doctor. Our next step is to realize, oh shit, what kind of ignorant believer did we listen to that we never allowed doctors to seek harm or mechanics or any profession, but we allow politicians to do war, to hurt their people, to siphon wealth to capitalists, and we also allow religious to kill those who are not in their religion and teach belief to children to hurt other people. So belief, religion, capitalism, conservatism, bullshit. So long as we tolerate that and do not understand the differences, we will suffer. So I believe that's one of the categories in here. Human sickness, stuck in the shadow realm, death and destruction, sweeping across the land, a pile of dead bodies, human extinction, suffering. Whereas understanding is where the fun is. It's where it's at, bro. Right, so because there is a threesome in this relationship, there's Joseph, there's Aaliyah, and there's the shared ideal that we seek that's transpersonal and universal. That's the relationship of understanding. So it's 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
It's a win-win.
No.
1, 2, 3.
Here we go. All right.
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
No, Emma. You need understanding and testosterone to be satisfied. You crazy gooner.
Be a reasonable gooner.
Exactly. You need to be a reasonable gooner. Right, so that's 3, and the question was why 2 and 1? 2 because self knowing itself as being, or through ousia, that's 2 things. Giving us the model of the dialectic, 2 things, self and other, from which we get understanding. So that's the model is mind and the activity is understanding. And of course, before there were 2, there has to be 1, the self. So that's the 1, 2, 3 of the transpersonal that we seek to become curious about in whatever way. Like Aaliyah has a curiosity about why she's here or what's it all made of. And we've got some spammers. You can go to hell.
You know what? Suck my dick.
You know what, spammers? Suck my dick.
The woman? Ugh.
Ugh. Hey, don't say that about the Oracle. Fuck.
There's a UFO with Jesus in there.
That's also interesting to think about. Is there a UFO with Jesus in there? I think I heard that on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
He doesn't want to eat a monkey. Right, so any of those transpersonal things, in particular belief and understanding, those are the 4 categories, whether or not it exists, and what kind of universe would it be that you're in if the subject did not exist. And by exist we mean, of course, exist eternally in being. Hooray for us. We are killing it today. Or this week with these eps. Seem a bit bright today. Oh, I can change my... Oops. I can change my light. I couldn't do it the other day. Right, happy there. I have a fill light. It was flickering before, but now it's not. Okay. So we said, we also pointed out that within each of these, how an idea is defined, demonstrated, division, and conclusion, there are fundamentally 3 categories. So you could just give it an answer to each, or you could even be more thorough. When you're talking about any of these, you could be talking about what's true about it, what's false about it, and what's both. What's true about how understanding functions in this category? What's false about how it functions? And what's both? True and false about it. And we even went one step further to say, hey, when we say true, what's even better than that is, what are the necessary conditions for it to be as it is? See that how that's higher? You're not just talking about the thing itself, you're talking about the reality or reality itself. What does it tell you about reality for understanding to be a transpersonal existing cognitive function? When we say false, a better way to think of that is, what would you never say about understanding how it functions? You would never say understanding functions in this way. And by the way, pull from the text. That's the game. That's why we read. That's what our mega analogy can help you with. And when you're thinking about what's both, find something that you think is a significant limitation. And the example we gave, which is a physical one, but just for fun, if somebody has never seen a bicycle before, it might be important for them to say, hey, by the way, it is a vehicle, but it's not a car. You can ride it on the roads, but not in the middle of the street, only on the side of the road. Or it's self-propelled, but not really, because you have to push it. It's different. It's both self-propelled and not self-propelled. You have to pedal it sometimes if it's an e-bike. So, when you talk about what's both, you are ideally aiming for something that shows its limitations. Hooray! So the big mega analogy allows us to bring the parts of the text together, see their order, see their relationships within that order. That's the true hierarchy. So there's something you can add to our mega list. Harry, the believer, the religious idiot. Sorry, Harry, but you are an idiot.
What the hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Sick freak.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
No, it's not. He's
It's
just a
great
weirdo.
because it's stupid, but it gets a lot of attention.
Okay. He thinks that he gets to tell Aaliyah what to do because he's a man. He can shut Aaliyah down and shut her up. So he's sexist. All belief-based systems have to market themselves to people. Why would you join some religion if you give all your money and all your power and you be a slave to some imam or rabbi or pastor or preacher or bishop? Why the fuck would you do that? Why would you join MAGA if they're just going to actively kill you and steal all your wealth and destroy your society and murder children? What's the appeal? Harry talked about it gives you an immediate sense of who's for you and who's against you. But also, one of the appeals is a false hierarchy. If you join MAGA, you are better than all of the women if you're a man. You're better than all the brown people if you're white. You can shoot civilians if you join ICE, so long as you become my Nazi Gestapo foot soldier to actively kill people and destroy society for the most psychopathic, pedophilic, murderous Epstein class, the religious, conservative, capitalist people, then you can be immediately better than everyone else. Cops, same thing. Cops that support those systems existing. Whereas, what we've been learning about belief is, it's not false per se, it's more a distorted reflection of the truth. It's the appearance, remember? It's the appearance of knowing. It's the imitation of expertise. It's the image of what it means to have understanding and be an expert. So you can convince and manipulate others through appearances and imitation, which works best on the most ignorant, which is why they want to defund the schools and teach religion that keeps people ignorant in schools, keep people impoverished, working 24 hours a day with wages that can't even afford survival, let alone to enjoy life. So that's the nature of all human savagery and sickness, why some people are so fucking terrible to our race and the people that we share. That's why these are right-wingers, capitalists, and religious say empathy is a sin. What do they call it? Supply chain Jesus. That's a funny video. That's a funny video on YouTube, supply side Jesus. It's a funny video where someone says, Jesus, should we help the poor? And Jesus says, no, you're taking away their incentive to work. Bullshit like that. The stuff that you hear from conservatives and capitalists. So, what's it imitating? In these sexist or prejudicial hierarchies that they invent to... That's why the Jordy Petersons of the world and the Joe Rogans of the world, the Epstein class, the billionaires and trillionaires and the conservative murdering fascists go to Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. Why? Because they want to target young white men. Why? Because they will be the foot soldiers. And what they're selling is sexism. So no woman wants to be considered. Only the most confused and sick women are conservative. Because you're better than women because we're right-wingers, we're MAGA. Also, racism. That's why white males. All right. So the true hierarchy is this one here. There is a hierarchy in the structure of the dialectic. There is a hierarchy in cognitive functions. Belief is hierarchically lesser than understanding. You could even find an ordered hierarchy within the terms in these big lists. That's the logos. That's why we need to have personally meaningful goals that we seek in our life to get into this game. And by that we mean things that are understandable, intelligible. In other words, they have an understandable, ordered hierarchy of intelligibility. So music, for example. The different notes in the octave are not the same. They are ordered hierarchically. The octave is the most important, then the perfect fifth, then the perfect fourth. It's reflecting the logos. And as you learn it, you can wonder, oh, how does this reflect the dialectic? So, brings together the analogy allows us to bring together the parts of the text, see the order, the relationships of the parts within each set and across the set, so you can jump from one to the other. You also see the missing parts. So we just talked about a bunch of different things that we haven't put on this list from the book that you could add in there. And if you see something in belief, you got to find in the text, or what's inferred from the text, what would be the understanding. But also there's a third thing, lesser to greater to principle. What's the principle for this particular one? For example, belief is to understanding as cognitive functions. Interpretation is to critical thinking as its functioning. So you can fill in that. That's solving the puzzles in the text. And you can read it a bunch of times and see more and more and make more and more connections. Okay? The third thing that analogy gives us is the material to do the dialectics. So you can turn those analogies in using the analogy structure into understanding. And because they are, you're doing understanding, which is transpersonal, on these things that have an existence in a transpersonal way, not only are you doing 3 understanding, you are contemplating that which is eternal, which is meditation. So it can facilitate those peak experiences or enlightenment experiences or knowledge. That's the 2. And of course, you could even, as you are learning understanding, if you do have those peak experiences because you're doing a dialectic on these ideas, you can apply understanding to those experiences to go into them in greater depth, have them more often, in a more profound way, see yourself identify with them in a greater sense. Longer peak experiences, that would be nice. And also go beyond. Because understanding looks at causes and principles. What would be the cause or principle to even that? To the greatest experience self can have, well, there must be a self. Giving us 1, 2, 3.
Win-win.
1, 2, 3.
And also a win-win-win.
A win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
1, 2, 3.
Chilling. We have fun. So, making it the model for spirituality. Beyond Eastern spirituality that lacks understanding, so at best can have peak experiences. Understanding can also address number 4, belief. So, Eastern spirituality doesn't solve your karma, and in fact can make your problems worse, because you can, use these experiences to make sense of them with your beliefs, further entrenching yourself in those beliefs, or have a greater spiritual power to play out your problems, or authority within the tradition to inflict it on students. Makes problems worse. They can't solve problems. Maybe they have methods for having that experience, but not complete, because you're not doing it through step-by-step understanding. You can't reflect on it with understanding to go in greater depth, and you can't go beyond it. So it's very, very limited. Imitating true spirituality. Eastern spirituality is actually in the realm of belief and imitation. There you go. And just as modern science is also imitating Mother Nature. Not true understanding, just looking at its parts. No concern for the whole. No spirituality, no meaning. Oh my goodness. So our society is rather lacking, but never fear, we have this book here. So, the third thing analogy does is gives us the material to do the dialectics on belief and understanding on the higher ideas. But remember, that's just that Elias question we also have to address at the same time. The other class of question, our problems. In doing that greater and doing the analogy, we will also be surfacing the gems or the clues to discovering our problem. And that's where we are in our reflection. How can we apply the dialectic structure, philosophically midwifery, to our problems? We've looked at how we can collect a bunch of terms, not from the text, but from the words, the states of mind, the feeling states, the voices, the tangents, the fantasies, the distractions, the key terms, the phrases, the images, the stories, the dramas, the objects that surface in your mind. You don't choose them. They are given to you. That's providence. Providence or genuine help isn't giving you what you want, it's giving you what you need. So the job isn't to silence your thoughts with alcohol or distractions. It's to listen to them. But that's not enough to participate in providence, intelligent, empathetic guidance. You have to learn the language. If the best math teacher came to visit you, but they spoke Japanese, and you didn't bother to learn any Japanese, you would miss all of the potential benefit in learning math. What's the language of reality? The logos. What's our activity that makes use of that pattern? The dialectic. Therefore, we need to find a way to take these logos, not logos, pathologos, shadows of the logos. There are two kinds of voices. There's a cool anime that's just started. What's it called? My Daemon or something like that? No. It's called Daemons of the Shadow Realm. Oh, I really have. So we talked about belief being in the Shadow Realm. So coincidental. The Daemon of the Shadow. I've only seen the first episode. There's a left and right daemon. So too, there is a what the Greeks call the kaka daemon, the bad daemon, and the daemon, the good daemon. One voice gives you these clues that you have that are not literal. Again, it's an analogy. You have to unpack it analogically through the dialectic. And the quieter voice is the voice that gives you Elia's answers to Elia's questions. The higher, the good daemon, the voice of the self. One speaks the self logos, one speaks the pathologos. Most people have learnt to listen to and even identify with the voice of the pathologos, the kaka daemon. We have to recognize that if you listen to that, you're listening to an imitator. So all we've learned about listening to the imitator of expertise, do you want to listen to the surgeon or the one who just pretends to be a surgeon? Do you want to get on the plane with a pilot or someone pretending to be a pilot? Do you want a president who's actually knows, has the qualification to be a president, or do you want a fucking reality show actor? What happens if you listen to a belief, or to liars, or to scammers? Harm. Therefore, we have to recognize that if that's interesting. My light flickers when when I'm not using the other input on the power plug. I've got to be using both. I have a foot warmer. It's very cold where I am. When it turns off, then my light flickers. That's not important for you. Right, so so most people identify with that. So that's Harry. And that's the Ellery relationship between you could say there's a kind of, or not really a threesome, but Harry is becoming more entrenched in his kaka daemon, his voice of his pathologos, Elia hers, and conflict that results. So, our question that we've been exploring last time is, how do we take these terms, not from the text, but from our kaka daemon, the voice of the pathologos, and the messages from our dreams, that's even quicker, and benefit? How do we benefit from these messages? From our kaka daemon or our dream master? Well, it's always the same thing. The dialectic. The power of the logos to participate in providence. So how do we do that? Well, we saw that there was actually a few dialectics involved in the process of philosophical midwifery. Why? Because you're not just exploring truth itself in a transpersonal way like this dialectic. It's truth and humanness, the two things we are here to make use of as human beings, but also human. That's too many S's. There we go. But also midwifery. So we saw that every stage in these dialectics applied to our problems are defined by a higher level of ousia. Therefore, we concluded that the nature of spiritual development or personal development is simply rising to higher and higher levels of ousia. Ousia is the whole, understanding or logos the parts, ousia the whole, the two things. The X and Y button on the gamepad of being a human. More holes the better, Emma.
Spit on me.
No, I'm not going to spit on you, Emma.
Hubba. I just want
No.
that one's perfect. And exactly, the more holes, the better.
Exactly. The more holes, the better. Brilliant point.
You are beautiful and everybody loves you.
Yes.
And you have
Okay.
the most beautiful breasts and the juiciest ass.
Oh my goodness. Fantastic thing to say to Emma. Or me. Was that to me?
Get the fuck out.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
You just attacked my person. You just harmed
You
my
just
body.
harmed my body. So every stage is a different quality of Usia or level of self-reflection. Deeper, like we said, in relationships, the peak experiences you can have in this relationship isn't a pouring of your immediacy or intimacy or sexual energy into your false images through fantasies. Wah, wah. It's facilitating or using all of those things that you can generate in relationships to give rise to transpersonal peak experiences of actual love, beauty, justice, excellence, mind, self, and mind reality, and beyond that, even the self. So genuine peak experiences, which are levels of Usia. And what do we say we want to do? What did we say understanding allows us to do with our peak experiences? Reflect on our peak experiences to allow for longer peak experiences, deeper experiences, more often, more profound depth. Unify or identify, see the level of self in there and unify with it and see yourself in it and learn about yourself in it in a deeper and deeper, more profound way. As well as integrating of them. If you are seeing yourself in them, you are seeing what's genuinely you. You can integrate that into your state of self or state of consciousness. One or two of the 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
And also reflect on the cause of those spirit experiences too, to reach the levels of self. Hooray! So, while those are the higher Usia experiences, the same principle applies to our problems. To begin, you have to... Oh, that's our drop.
I have known people who go to therapy,
Wait,
but they don't actually
this
want.
one?
You actually have to address the systemic inequality.
No.
You actually have to address the systemic inequalities. The people who
No.
believe.
No, hang on. I didn't put it on the board. Hold for a minute. There was another one. Address the systemic inequalities. I got that on twice. You have to want to change and grow as well.
I have known people who go to therapy, but they don't actually want to grow and improve and change as people. They just use all the therapy speak to help, like, continue being a shitty person. You have to want to get better.
You have to want to get better, which is different from this drop.
I have known people who go to therapy.
Oh no. Uh-oh. What happened here? Hold for a second. Pause. Here we go. So, right. So as that drop pointed out, you have to want to change. I'm sure I made another sound drop. I'm sure I made two. Hang on. Right. So, as that drop pointed out, you have to, no one can force you to change. You have to want to change. You have to, and that begins with having a puzzle. So either you've been collecting enough clues about the sorts of feelings, states of mind, negative voices, kakadamon information fantasies, dramas, tangents that come up, that you've started to notice there's a pattern. When you've started to notice a repeated cycle, you are seeing the intelligibility or evidence of intelligibility. That should be enough to say there's a puzzle here. Why do I always hear that voice? Why do I always feel this way? Why do I engage in that sort of projection? Why do I engage in that sort of self-sabotage over and over? And of course, the shortcut is your dream. Can you find a puzzle in your dream? If you don't care about your problems, your excellence, or your dream, you can't play the game. That's why it's the first stage. But also, it's a stage of Usia that a lot of people don't even reach. How many people do you know who are taking notes of their thoughts, feelings, actions, and to find a pattern? How many people do you know who are recording their dreams accurately as possible? Could you count them on one hand? So, a level of Usia beyond most. Now, we need to unpack how do we solve that puzzle? Well, we look for how does that demonstrate itself in our states of mind? How's that puzzle demonstrating itself? From those states of mind, you can function in a certain way. If you're down on yourself, you're not going to, boldly lead a chant. If you're feeling yourself, you might. So the actions that we decide that we can do, the role we can play, the thoughts, the words, the actions, and the drama we play out follow from the state of mind that we're in. And we can even represent that drama on this graph. Hey, welcome! Welcome, Anako Tako. To you we say...
Now we're getting into extreme Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy.
Jordan Peterson. You got here when we're getting into extreme Jordan Peterson levels of whimsy. You're very lucky. So, in your dream or in that series of patterns that you've discovered about your life that blocks you, whimsy lobster. Yes.
Cool as a cuke.
You're cool as a cuke. We'll use dreams because that brings it together in a very simple way. You could use either. Dreams, of course, are more accurate because it's the message from your guide. What's the goal in the dream or the scene? You might remember different scenes, and of course we have 4 or 5 dreams a night. So you maybe have a collection of dreams to work with when you wake up. Especially if you've been setting your alarm to go off at 90-minute to 2-hour intervals where you can wake up, hit record, and go back to sleep again. It's really up to you how fast you want to develop. What's the goal? What states of mind, positive and negative, do you hit in the drama? Do you start pretty happy and then feel good? But then after you feel good, something you feel bad, but then you turn it around and then you really go down. Hit the lowest point. Do you have the highest point? Follow it. And where do you end? Now now we're looking at our problems. To solve our problems, we're looking at failures. So you can see how it maps out. You can see the drama playing out on this map. By the way, here are some extra tidbits. The opening puzzle of your dream, there are lots of ways of going, like simply, what's the puzzle? Like, what's the puzzle in the story of the dream? Or, what are you curious about in the dream? What's puzzling you? Or, what's the turning point? Where does the dream turn? Or, the highest or lowest states of mind. There are lots of different ways that you can have that opening puzzle. And the highest or lowest state of mind is one of them. Now we're looking for the lowest in particular right here to find the cause of our problems. So, a puzzle about your dream, the states of mind that you get in the dream, how that plays out in the divisions or the stages or the drama. And from that, you need to synthesize a key idea. What's the key idea from the divisions? For us here, it keeps you trapped in a cycle of a kind of failure. Whether it's your everyday life, all of these different problems, once you've noticed it ends in a certain kind of failure. That's a deeper ousia, a deeper level of self-reflection on your problems. Your whole life, you've been repeating it over and over. It's just a matter of when are you going to listen to the alarm? The alarm goes off and says, time to listen. Do you want to stay stuck in a cycle of repeating problems? That's called suffering. Or do you want to wake up? This is how to wake up. In the chat, I tried many ways to lucid dream, drawing a dot on your head. Right, so we're not doing lucid dreaming because that would assume you know better. It's like going into the doctor's office and saying, hey, I want to prescribe myself all the lovely medications I want. I don't know if it's possible. I haven't heard any legitimate stories, but even if it were, I don't think you'd want to. You'd be missing the point. If one of the primary axioms we have to trust to play this game is our guide is our dream maker. It's sending you messages. Our job is to learn to listen. It's like you have to take control of lucid dreaming. I know what it means, but I haven't seen. I mean, maybe you can have fun with that, but you're lucid for it. Sure, okay, fine. Even then, you might find yourself playing out a cycle of drama and ups and downs and stuff. Having failures. That's what we want. We want personal development. Hey, maybe you can go on a nice trip. Be a spiritual tourist. By the way, if you were aware that you were lucid in your dreams, wouldn't you want to ask questions about the two things that we're exploring here? Your highest excellence, your question about self and reality that you want to know about? Or your other kind of question? What's my false beliefs about self and reality that keep me blocked in my problems? So whether you realize you're dreaming or don't realize you're dreaming, wouldn't you be after the same thing? Either way, we want to find where our problems come from so we can free ourselves from them. When you realize that the pattern of that drama, whether you're doing it lucidly or you're observing it as the main character in the movie, either way, you're looking for when you have that failure and seeing how it's a result of the actions that you are in, which are a result of the state of mind that you're in, which somehow comes from a primary puzzle you've yet to understand. Therefore, when you realize it keeps you trapped in failures, it prevents you from reaching your successes. That's the synthesis. And the analysis function is you bring it back to the beginning. And now what was once a puzzle, the puzzle question plus the failure that your dreams are telling you that you're stuck in, that you may have even been reincarnated here to specifically address, that turns the puzzle into your problem. Congratulations, you've reached an official higher stage of enlightenment. Third oxiding picture. Why? Because levels of enlightenment are higher, more profound levels of ousia, reflection on mind and self. You've reflected that you are in a problem. How many people do you know have gone through these stages to discover a fundamental problem that they are stuck in? and may have even been born in here to address and solve. 20? 10? Less than 10? Out of 8 billion? Who are currently kicking it? So, rarefied air, and hooray for you. Of course, we want more people to become curious about solving their problems, so we have people to talk with. And create a better world with, why not? Cognition is rare. Metacognition is a unicorn. Right. Which is why we have this channel. To share the understanding of what's involved in A, removing your problems, and B, fulfilling your highest purpose, excellence, meaning of life. Few people even ask questions about that. And those who ask questions, even fewer think that you can actually answer those things. Why? Because they are carrying their problem. It's the false beliefs we carry that prevent us from asking these two kinds of questions or from learning how to do them. That's the catch-22 of this channel. If the root cause of all human problems is an identification and attachment to, going back to a mega analogy, our beliefs, the root and nature of all human problems, and it's the cause of all human problems because belief functions specifically to block, sabotage, and violently fight against reason, understanding, truth, benefit, our higher cognitive function of understanding. But the catch-22 is, you will only be able to free yourself from your false beliefs if you learn how to understand it. You can't believe your way out of your belief. Why? Because those beliefs are your problems. That's why dreams are so important. That's why finding somebody else to play this game with is so important. Your problem is hidden in your language, in your logos. You don't know you have a problem. Everyone thinks their stupid ass beliefs are real. That's what beliefs are. And beliefs function always to block understanding. Why? Because understanding removes beliefs. Once you understand it, why would you want to believe someone else? That would be crazy. Therefore, for beliefs to maintain their existence in our soul, in our lifetime, long enough for us to learn the art we're supposed to be learning, the art of understanding, not just understanding, that's the dialectic, but how to use that art to benefit living intelligent beings, there has to be some self-protective mechanism of belief. That's its functioning. It functions to block reason. I want to debate my beliefs. I don't want to step-by-step reason to a conclusion together. Fuck you. It blocks evidence. I'm going to ignore the evidence or change the goalposts rather than change my beliefs. Reality is a false belief if we must move through it. Reality is a self. You can have, that's two different things. Reality, or what exists, is ontology. What is? How we relate to it or perceive it is epistemology, how we think. And what we've been learning in this book, and by the way, we're about 35 episodes in. There's a link to the PDF below. We've almost finished the first part, and you can find the previous videos on YouTube if you want as well. What we've discovered is there are primarily two ways we can apprehend belief and understanding. And belief functions to oppose understanding. Understanding functions to solve our problems by addressing the root false belief, as well as using that freedom and skill of understanding to find the truth of reality, which is non-personal and non-physical, the cause or the principles of our physical existence. Use understanding to not just have those peak experiences or enlightenment experiences, but understand them, integrate them. Therefore, it's transformative. Modern education is informative. This real education is transformative. And of course, you can use that understanding to wonder what's the cause even of that, going beyond experience to knowing the self. So that's what we've got from the book. The trick is you won't want to do it. I already know what's true. My beliefs tell me what's true. My mummy and daddy. My president says so. My preacher says so. That's the difficulty. That's why it takes not only intelligence to play the game that we play here, but character. Not just a good head, but a good heart. Why? You have to do it anyway. You have guidance from dreams every night. We have this fun text we read together. We have the community where you can reflect on that text. That's the triad, the anagogic triad. Reading the texts that reflect the logos, that's Apollo. Reflecting with beautiful people to bring the parts into a whole, as we're doing right now, that's Aphrodite. Seeing how the parts come together into a beautiful whole that can meaningfully affect you, change your life. And of course, they come together. This is our model of the relationship. There's Joseph, there's Aaliyah, and there's the shared ideal that all good relationships must have. All good relationships must be that threesome. What's the ideal in the triad of how to play the human game? What's the shared ideal? What's our ultimate functioning? The philosophical midwife dialectician. Or guru. That's the definition of a guru. Your guru, therefore, your dreams. So, you won't think that your dreams are meaningful. You won't think you can solve problems. You won't think you can reach higher states of being in this lifetime and beyond. That's why they are 3 axioms. You don't know. If you think otherwise, you are listening to a believer, because anyone who tells you you can't know the higher nature of self and reality is a liar. They're lying. They're not an expert. The only experts are the people that we read here. And your dream maker. What happens if you believe someone who's operating through belief? Well, if the pilot only believes he can fly the plane, the plane crashes. Anyone who tells you that human beings' problems are not solvable, all we can do is kill the bad people or put them in prison, or they are liars. They are operating from false beliefs that they got from someone else, the cycle of imitation. Imitating ignorance, imitating ignorance. And anyone who tells you that your dreams are not your guru, also wrong. So those are the 3 primary things you have to trust, rationally trust, necessarily to play the game. Your highest purpose and excellence is reachable through the self-logos. Your problems are solvable by understanding the pathologos or belief. Self-logos, another name for understanding. And you have a principle or guide. That's the analogy. The principle that solves problems, your dreams, or the guru. The lesser, the cause of human problems, beliefs, and your specific pathologos belief. And understanding, your excellence. The same triad. In the chat, belief needs a self to believe them. They create the illusion of division of self. Right, we can have false beliefs about self, using that lesser cognitive function, or we can develop an understanding of self. That's the ticket. That's the greater. And of course, that understanding can lead to the direct experience of self. That's what we call mind or reality or being. But even in that experience, there has to be a self experiencing it. So the true self, or the one self, or our highest good that we seek, the good self, describes the ultimate. So, the development of understanding, that's 3. Mind 2, self 1. That's the 1, 2, 3. The transpersonal, universal, beneficial things that we are here to learn and master. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
That's how a caveman would say it.
1, 2, 3.
That's funny. So what? All right, so we are going through the process of removing the false beliefs about self and reality that sabotage our development, fight against our understanding, fight against truth, fight against unity, fight against harmony, fight against our benefit. Belief. The cause of human problems. What's happening here? I'm hitting that button. Not doing it. Oh. Yes, it is. There we go. Alright, I'll just delete that. So, going through those, hey, by the way, dialectic. The definition you start with, what's the puzzle? Demonstration, how it functions through your state of mind. Division, the division, whether it's your everyday life or your dream world, either one, dreams work best. Synthesis, what's the root idea or key idea? That has to also involve, a key idea from how you're functioning and how it relates to your failure. I always play the joker role. I always play the idiot role. What did Harry see in the text? I always go down with the ship, even though it's not my ship, leading to failures. So that puzzle about his behavior or dream, combined with the synthesized idea from examining the drama, leading to a failure, you've upgraded, you've realized you've got a problem. Congratulations, you have the first gestations of a pregnancy. When you recognize you have a problem that you can understand, and now you're starting to see it, it's going to be hard to ignore that question. So not only are you participating in higher levels of ousia, self-reflection, intelligence, consciousness, self-functioning in a higher way, but you are getting a deeper and deeper attachment to the question. That's the game. As the Oracle says,
I have known people who go to therapy, but they don't actually want to grow and improve and change as people. They just use all the therapy speak to help, continue being a shitty person. You have to want to get better.
You have to want to get better. You have to become pregnant with an idea. It's not a matter of truth. I'm sure there was another drop. I'm gonna have to go over the my notes. I had another drop. I'm sure it was another drop that said no one can force you into therapy. No, okay, maybe I don't know. I'm going crazy. I'm crazy.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
In some way, it might.
I hope he can post more Chinese milking type content / material.
That's outrageous. We will not post such material. I can't believe you even asked such a thing. You can't solve a problem if you don't want to solve it. The humanness is not just the truth or getting the right answers, it's also the humanness or becoming impregnated with these questions. To carry a question is to be on a quest. We've seen how, now because of what we've done with this analogy, we have all these extra questions that allow us to reread this text, which will bring to light deeper understanding, deeper connections, and deeper insights. We are becoming more and more curious about the text. Because we've read it already once in this way, we can see it may be the best book or top 10 greatest books ever written, as well as being very accessible. It's 3 people you are likely to meet, having conversations you have likely to have, perfectly put together, written by a guru, by a master. allowing us to see the nature of all human problems and what the nature of human excellence and how to move from one to the other. It's going to be hard to ignore this book, given what we've seen. In a similar way, it's going to be harder and harder to ignore the question that's no longer a puzzle, now it's a problem. Congratulations, you are becoming stuck with your question. To be curious about a meaningful question so that you focus on it genuinely, you want to understand it genuinely, that's formally meditation, sustained concentration with an open, curious mind about something real and genuine while using your highest understanding. That's the standard. All other meditations just take pieces of that. We have the question, but no understanding. We have the focus, but no question. All sorts. You find it for yourself. Look at any possible meditation in yoga and see how they're just taking aspects. So, good for us. We don't have to muck around in that way. And by the way, if you are facilitating this kind of personal development in somebody else, you can therefore recognize in their face, in their mannerisms, in their state of being, are they more curious? Do they want to be here more? Are they reflecting in a greater way? Because at the end of this guided questions you can lead them through, or lead your partner through, or lead your friend through, they've returned to the beginning and their puzzle has upgraded to a problem. Which, by the way, is the principle of hyparxis. Within a system, there are many down the bottom, and as you improve, like our friend in chat said, you become, it's more rare to the unicorns at the top, the highest level of whatever you're doing, which is the beginning of the next level. And you grow and reach the next level. That's hyparxis. So this first dialectic, the definition dialectic, leads to a return to the beginning. Now you've got a problem. That problem now becomes the opening question. That's the definition that begins this next dialectic. See? Isn't that fun? It's a dialectic of dialectics. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Did I have another sound drop?
I have a sickness for the thickness. In the final quarter of the ball game, you have to throw it in, and that's when it all matters. It's all up to that one moment.
It's all up to the one moment. I added a new one, but the thing about having a random soundboard is I can't pick it. Some of them I can pick. Like this one.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
And this one.
Bull testicles. Bull testicles.
Bull testicles. So, a new level of Usia, self-reflection on your problem. You've upgraded. Congratulations, you've reached a higher stage of enlightenment. We will raise our coffee mugs to you. And if you've gone through the last series, Socrates and Jesus, a Dialogue in Heaven, you might even be able to recognize it within the ox-setting pictures, because we explored that at the end. But you don't have to, but it's fun. We had fun. And now I'm out of coffee. That's a disaster. So, that's the opening definition. You've got a problem now that you've seen in your dream or whatever. Next question. That problem you've recognized in your dream, how is it demonstrating itself in your present? When you recognize the problem you've seen in your dream actually is playing out right here and now in your life, would that make you even more curious? Even less likely to drop this contemplation, well, meditation? Less interested in the shapes and colors, the conflicts and dramas of other people? More interested in solving the puzzle you're here to. The universe has been created and your life, your reincarnation has come to pass for you to see. The next thing the midwife would want to do is ask you questions about, hey, after we've seen it playing out in your present, yesterday, last week, has it have a history? Everything that you've taken with you, remember, we learned about the dialectic, everything you get in one, you take with you to the next. So the definition we take with us as the opening self or subject for the demonstration. So too, with the definition dialectic. So everything we've learned about the dynamic states of mind, roles, drama of our problem, we take with you to the demonstration dialectic. Have you seen those states of minds play out with your past? Those roles play out in your past? Those kinds of failures play out in your past? That's how what you've seen demonstrating in your present divides through your past. Definition and division. How would it conclude? Now, remember there's 2 steps to conclusion. As you look at the divisions through your past, you want to pull out a key idea. What's the key idea? Something that repeats, or something that is causal, or something that is most primary. What's most causal and primary? Your origin scene. The cause of this life you've lived with this problem playing out, that's manifesting in your present. That's the synthesis. You want to find the earliest scene. Notice, it's a high level of reflection. Not only are you reflecting on yourself in the present in a more meaningful way, due to all this work, you are seeing your life as a whole in a higher way. So this is a kind of steps of spiritual development or usia in relation to your life as a whole. Origin scene, synthesis. We take this origin scene back to the problem and we realized, oh, hang on a second. This origin scene was a kind of fake initiation when you were 3 and didn't know any better and stuck in this box, in this prison with your parents who pretended to be a priest, who pretended to be king, who pretended to be CEO of your house, and you were 3 and you were stuck and you were dependent. They got to cosplay the knower, the very thing human problems belief seeks. Harry wants to seem like an expert. Trump wants to seem like a politician. Musk wants to seem like a cool dude who's good at computers. They're all liars. That's why they do harm. And whether we like it or not, that's part of the human condition. So Aaliyah's question, why was I reincarnated as a human in this part of human development? Well, one thing you know for sure, you will have this kind of origin scene. There's no 2 ways around it. What you do with it is why you're here. That's the real question. It's the one real question. Do you want to stay in Harry's life or do you want to live Joseph's life? If you're a Leo, do you want to have a Larry relationship or a Jolia relationship? So a fake initiation with the fake gurus passing on a fake teaching or fake dharma. Dharma is a fancy word for the spiritual teaching about life and reality that you are supposed to keep with you from that initiation scene. The initiation scene with the teaching or dharma is supposed to change your life. Life-changing, no going back. You've elevated, you've evolved, you've transformed. So prior to this scene, you were on one trajectory, following your self-logos, your curiosity, your goals. Then there was an initiation scene into the family way of being, where Harry learned all his Christian debate bro bullshit. His chauvinistic bullshit. What love is in a way that's made his relationship with Aaliyah bullshit. His way of being that makes him unable to talk with a fucking dialectician like Joseph. Bullshit. The turning point. Just like there was a the turning point in your dream could be the opening puzzle to begin your reflection. Where does the dream turn? So too, in our life as a whole, there was a turning point in the origin scene. So you could say our life mirrors the logos or the intelligibility of our dreams, or vice versa. Isn't that interesting? So what happens with the initiation scene? It changes your life. The real initiation scene, the higher, is supposed to send you on a trajectory towards the meaning of life that we're learning about here, or our purpose, or our intended function, or the ultimate goal of evolution, or our destiny, the reason that we're here, the destiny of all life, our highest purpose and reason for existence, or that for the sake of which. That's what initiation is supposed to do, put you on this trajectory of the self-logos. But because we are souls that have the capacity for the highest excellence, so too do we have the capacity to fall for its scammer, to fall for its imitation. That's the root origin of all human problems. The double-edged sword about being a human being. We have the capacity to complete our evolution within a single lifetime, especially since we have dreams, to reach the highest excellence, fulfill our purpose, become caretakers of this planet, bring a flourishing of our species, of our planet, and caring for all life on this planet. And then after doing so, become an ambassador to a greater galaxy and maybe even to a greater multiverse. We have that capacity, but we also have the capacity for fucking capitalism or competition or Nazism, to destroy our planet for the fun and profit of the most disgusting, sadistic, psychopathic murderers in our species. We have both. It's a double-edged sword. No other species treats each other this way. No other species passes on a pathologos to the children they supposedly care about. We have the capacity for both. In fact, the lesser is an imitation of the greater, which is something that we've come to see all the way through as the functioning of belief. It's the imitation, it's the supposed expertise, it's the tricking the ignorant, it's the, as Trump lies to the trick, recognizes that the only people that would vote for his sadistic, murderous, corrupt ass is religious people. So he holds the Bible upside down. Look at me, I'm Christian. That doesn't work to anyone except the most fucking ignorant, brainwashed believers. Same thing with Netanyahu and the stupidest Jews. Or Hitler and the false beliefs of Germany. Always the same. So what? So you've been put on a trajectory that will keep you on a narrow, fixed path. That's the zombie virus, the NPC script, savagely fighting against your own interest, primitively afraid of anything new or your own development. The primitive, savage, NPC, zombie virus. Is there any more key terms that we've got on the list? I thought we made a big list of it up here somewhere. Maybe up here. Surely we did it somewhere. Because these are such handy analogies to use. Here we go. Ignorant. The claim knowledge, expertise, but you're only imitating through belief. NPC, you're in a script. Repeating empty phrases. Zombie virus. A narrow amount of logos and a shallow amount of ousia. Enough to say brains and seek brains. Savage. You fight understanding truth, reason, ignorantly and violently. Primitive. You fight against your own interests and benefit. Caveman. All differences to the cave clan way of being, the cave clan beliefs, the cave clan leader is bad and scary. So it's a kind of had a role within our early evolution, but prior to language and reflection, just to stop us from venturing out of the cave and getting eaten by saber-toothed tigers, but it's a solution that no longer applies. Our job is to evolve past it. So it's not a blame game, it's an understanding game. So what? Fake Dharma Parson? What happened here? Okay, I deleted a G. Don't let Snoop Dogg learn that I deleted a G. He'll be mad.
You know what? Suck my dick.
Okay, I deserve that.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Not Emma, but I appreciate your sentiment. That G's bad. G. There we go. So, what's that called? To be stuck on that with that zombie virus. It has you, you don't have it. Fate. The opposite of destiny or our purpose. Fate. In other words, fate. So we looked at it, how the problem plays out in your present, how it has a role through your past, but also how it keeps you trapped in fate for your future. Predictable future. So this will allow, therefore, the development of actual expertise. Because as we've been learning, actual expertise allows you to predict the future. A doctor can predict what will happen with this illness. A pilot can predict what will happen if he takes this journey or flies on these winds or on these wind conditions, etc. We are developing a mastery of ourselves. That's not the logos of music or the logos of planes or the logos of medicine, the logos of self. We are gaining self-mastery in this process. So we can see the problem in this. So we got the problem in the definition dialectic. We can see how it's demonstrated itself in our present, past, and future, and the demonstration. Next is, hang on a second, your fate in the fake Dharma scene or fake Dharma initiation scene becomes the definition that you can see in the next one. What's the next one? Well, now that you've seen that you are stuck in fate, and you were forced upon you was this imitation of enlightenment that's trapped you from actually seeking true enlightenment. All of the beliefs that you've been carrying since childhood, philosophy isn't real, or there's no truth, or I can't know enlightenment, or my choices are Eastern spirituality or Western religion or Western academia. There's no actual purpose that can legitimately give rise to these questions and understand it. Bollocks to that. There is, we're doing it here. Those are all false beliefs. Hey, false beliefs about self and reality and your capacity to reach them as a soul. Self, reality, and soul. These are all within the expertise of guruship. Your parents were fake gurus. What do you know? Our job is to become rational and point that out. Hey, you're cavemen in a caveman fucking script. Your parents did it probably to you, and their parents to them, all the way back to the cave. Garbage. So, would that make you more stung? Not only do I have a problem I've been carrying and curious about, now I can see how it's fucking up my life and my relationships and kept me in. I'm always going to be stuck in the same. Ever seen a friend who keeps dating the same sort of person? Ever met someone in life who projects the same shit, gets into the same arguments, has the same debates? No matter what you say or what they experience, they never learn. We all have that to a degree. But now you are much better than all of the other NPCs in that you have awoken to a level of curiosity, ousia, and understanding. That's the X and Y button, Logos and ousia. The two buttons we have on the gamepad. You might be a little bit pissed because you're starting to see the injustice that was inflicted upon you and how it's affected your whole goddamn life. Especially, and even when you were being your best, when you had to be your best for that big interview, what was the model of your best? This bullshit. Which is why your problems come when you have to be your best. When you're approaching a meaningful goal or something you consider beautiful, when you feel you have to be your best, that's when your problem comes up. Your social, you might call that social anxiety or my OCD or my autism. Bollocks, it's this. Those are not psychological words, they are medical model words. Modern psychology borrows from medical model to diagnose illness. It doesn't understand the nature of self, mind, and soul. They are imitators. That's okay, it's a new tradition. It's only like 100 or so years old. Doesn't have a model yet. We're learning the model. When you need to approach that beautiful girl you have a crush on, gotta be my best. Those thoughts come back, those feelings come back, and you act a bit goofy or dorky or say the wrong thing. You sabotage your way, but now yourself from those goals to stay within the acceptable role within the family, to stay within the acceptable state of mind of the family, within the acceptable role with the family, achieve only the acceptable goals in the family, only the goals that will keep you trapped in that fucking house, in that family house you grew up in. You need to leave the house. Leave the family tradition, leave the belief clan, leave the cave. That's our purpose as human beings. And now you've seen how it was all bullshit, and the people you trusted and depended on, the people whose job it was to nurture and raise you, your parents or parental figures or parental surrogates, fucked you up because of their addiction to lying and cosplaying the Noah. You might be pissed about that now. That's the nature of human anger. We have anger when we notice injustice. And this is the highest kind of injustice, the insult to the self. Screwing up your life, but you played a role. You believed it. Yes, it was a big scam, and yes, they were playing their parts, and yes, they orchestrated the moment of the origin scene, and yes, there was all these other roles being played by the family members, and yes, they repeated the teaching over and over to keep you trapped within that belief, because that's what loving is. Think of another culture. Think of those fundamentalist Islamic cultures. You might want to beat into your daughter's head that she is less than a man and she can't show her skin, because back then, if you went out showing skin, these fascist men would stone you to death. And if you love your daughter, you won't want her to be stoned, so you will beat into her head she is less than a man and she can't expose her skin. Bullshit. Complete garbage. But you can see how it might be motivated by love or a desire to do what they think is best. Same principle. when they want to be their best or present themselves in the most meaningful way, in the indoctrination or the initiation of the kid into the family way of being, they too go back to the same models from their initiation scene. Therefore, the Dharma passing is a sickness Dharma, a teaching of a teaching of a teaching, all based on bullshit, pathologos, sick beliefs. So they were as trapped as you are. Only their job, the job of all human beings, is to reflect on our earliest teachers, reflect on our problems, reflect on our life in this way. And they didn't. They should have. Yes, you played a role. Yes, they were trapped. But being trapped within a pathologos is no excuse for never fucking learning and pushing it onto your kids. That's our job. And when you realize that, after reaching the end of this second dialectic, it might make you pissed. Legitimately so, because that's the nature of human anger. Now, if we recognize this, we can see how other human anger is the result of, hey, have you ever met someone who's an angry bastard? Who sues everyone? Who's a miserly cunt?
How can you be this stupid? How is it legal? How is it legal?
And you might wonder how it's legal to be that stupid.
Okay, that sounds stupid.
And it sounds stupid. Ever notice they're projecting a problem over and over? Doesn't matter who, it's the same bullshit. They're playing the same victim. And not only are they projecting their problem, their belief, they are then angry about the injustice that's not actually happening to them. Injustice of belief that's projected. What's projection? The functioning of belief. That's the big thing. It's all relative. Truth is relative to belief. It's all to do with projection. So interpretation of belief causing a projection that they then get angry at. Now I'm angry at that person, says a racist. Oh, you black people are always like this, and I'm pissed about it. Bullshit, you're carrying it. Why are you projecting, number one? And why are you angry about it? And what do you know? Their response to the anger, what happens when we need to be our best? We go back to the belief-based model, the very thing, let's write it out on the board. Down here, maybe. And I'm out of coffee. What a disaster. Anger. So how does it start? A projection, which is interpretation, which is the functioning of belief. And that belief is what's the belief we carry with us, trapped in that fate. Our pathologos problem is the belief we project, which is fundamentally an injustice we suffered in childhood. Everyone does. Not a personal thing, it's transpersonal. It's part of being a living being in the human species at this stage of development, and the reason you are reincarnated here at this time. It was an injustice, an insult against the self. Shutting down yourself, your self goals, your independence, your self logos to become a ignorant tribe member of the cave belief tribe against self. Okay, what happens next? Injustice causes anger, right? The referee makes an unjust call, you get angry and you throw your beer at the TV. You see someone kick a puppy, you go, hey, you bastard, that was unjust. That's our anger. You overcome the propaganda of the belief-based groups, capitalists, conservatives, and religious, and you realize, holy fuck, every one of those people have been doing injustice all the time in horrific ways. You should get angry and do something about it. This, understand the root cause and address it collectively with good people. When you have to address the injustice and the source of anger, you have to be your best. Right? It's a meaningful goal. So address the you address injustice and also the source of your anger. That's a meaningful goal. What happens when we approach meaningful or beautiful goals? Meaningful goal. Yeah. We have to
I love this guy.
love this guy. No, we have to.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
What? Talking to Emma.
It's a total shit show.
It is.
Calm your fucking tits.
Become your tits, Emma. Meaningful goal, we have to be our best. What's our best? We must have learnt our best from somewhere. The image, by the way, what's our best? That's what we're learning here. That's philosophy. That's what guruship is. How many people are masters of philodianoia philosophy, true philosophy? None I've seen on this planet at the moment. The author of this book that's why we read his book. So we are using our image, our belief, and image false model of excellence and goodness and knowing and strength. Which comes from where? Which came from our origin scene. Which was the original injustice against self. Notice anything about the pattern of human problems or human anger? What color? Blue. Our response to the person who we triggered this, who we interpreted it to, the very problem we're projecting on someone else that causes our anger and need us to be our best. So we go back to that model of what's best and use that to relate to that person. So we end up doing to this original person, doing the very thing, the very injustice we projected upon them. And we're angry about. The very thing we are mad at them for, we are doing to them. Because that's our best from our origin scene, which was an injustice, which was the cause of our anger, which caused our interpretation to begin with. In other words, therefore, it's a repeating stagnant, no growth cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy and injustice. While every step of how we are learning to deal with our anger in philosophical midwifery has a return to the beginning, but having reached a higher level of insight, of understanding, of ousia. Therefore, while this model here, we start with that first definition of a puzzle in the dream, we go through the dialectic, we return to that puzzle, and it's upgraded into a new way, a problem. How everyone else deals with their human anger and injustice, anything other than this, is the opposite. It's the exact opposite. It perpetuates itself. It's the cycle of violence. It's the cycle of ignorance. It's the cycle of injustice. Not that color. Cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy and injustice and ignorance. That's what everyone else is doing. This is why what we do here is so important. It's not a choice of learning philosophy or being neutral. It's a choice of learning philosophy or being harmful. There's no middle term where you're neutral. There's no neutralness in the human game. You're either perpetuating a cycle of repeating stagnant. Let's do this better. You're repeating stagnant, self-fulfilling prophecy in a self-defense. Because it's projection, you're blocked from seeing what's true, so it has a self-defense mechanism. Self-fulfilling prophecy and self-defense mechanism of the cycle of injustice violence, ignorance, causes violence, anger, and ignorance. In other words, you've become the very fake guru you were angry about the whole time. So in other words, what we're learning here is the only way of breaking the cycle of ignorance, harm, violence, and injustice. This is the only way. That's why we have so many viewers on Twitch.
You sick fuck.
Okay, that was a bad joke.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
I will never.
Brain of a baby.
Brain of the baby. Okay. What's a longer one?
You actually have to address the systemic inequalities. The people who believe that there should be hierarchies and that they should be above other people, that should just be addressed rather than just trying to segregate shit. Whoa, crazy. These are, I feel like, lessons that children understand. And conservatives are so stunted that they don't understand these things. You literally are dumber than children.
That's a long drop. But every part of that was worthwhile, meaningful. In other words, so this would be, hey, why don't you compromise with capitalists, clergy, or conservatives? Because they're not experts. They are only doing harm. Do you want a little bit of genocide or a lot of genocide? How about no fucking genocide? A little bit of exploitation for profit? Or no, how about no exploitation for profit, you sick fuck?
You should know that you need to quit living your current life and go start a new one as a minor. That is...
In a minor, okay. That's a long one. In other words, you're not addressing the root systemic cause of the inequality or the injustice. That's the loop. What we are doing here in learning philosophical midwifery is addressing the systemic cause of the repeating cycles of injustice and problems. This is where anger comes from. So you can see, therefore, you could go through and say, hey, the definition of anger is a projection of our problem from our origin scene on the self. That's the original puzzle. The projection of the injustice. How it demonstrates in your state of mind as you respond to that injustice you've projected. Notice the definition is projection or belief, interpretation. Is anger as your state of mind. How do you function from that anger in this specific division? Well, if you need to address injustice and the source of your anger, that's the pretty fucking meaningful thing. You've got to be your best. Therefore, from all of your divisions, what you've been nurturing through the divisions of your life, through your present, past, and all the way back to the origin scene, what's your image of the best from the divisions, just as we just did? The origin scene, as we just went through the divisions of your past, we synthesized the origin scene, which was the fake imitation of the guru, which keeps you trapped in fate, a repeating cycle of ignorance and problems. Stuck. So 2, same thing. The exact, interesting, isn't that cool? Hooray for us. The synthesis is the same. The belief and image of the false model of excellence, goodness, and strength and knowing comes from your origin scene. So that would all be one idea. And therefore, this section here, therefore, going back to the self, you're doing the very same justice. So all of this here would be therefore the analysis. What's analysis? You take the synthesis and you bring it back. Keep this back here. You apply it back to the self, back to the original thing. Therefore, the analysis step, the problem of the projection that you've done, projecting your analysis, let's just say Anna. The very thing you're projecting on someone else, you're doing yourself. So, ever notice that? Oh, what are the Jews doing? A fucking genocide. What are they claiming? We are the victims. Everyone wants to genocide us. The very thing they are doing are the things that they're projecting onto others and are claiming they are suffering from. What does Trump do? Corruption and concentration camps and murder. What does he say? I'm the one everyone's picking on. Everyone's trying to be corrupt to me. They're trying to steal the elections as he steals the elections. Everyone's corrupt as he's doing corruption. That's the nature of the self-fulfilling, self-protecting mechanism behind human problems. Everyone's stuck in belief. Therefore, if we want to end the corruption, end the injustice, end our own problems in our life, reincarnations, relationships, everything, there is only one thing to do. Well, three things to do. Number one, understand the cause of the problem. This dialectic on anger we just did. Two, understand what it's an imitation of, the actual dialectic. Learn understanding and midwifery. And three, move from one to the other. So therefore, this is why humanity is stuck in a cycle of ignorance and injustice, causing the pages of human history to be never-endingly soaked in blood, death and destruction. This is the excellence we need to learn that we are doing here. Our job, therefore, is to recognize the problem and move to the solution, which is nothing other than the movement from this side of the mega analogy, the lesser to the greater. Or the two aspects of the greater, to become pregnant with a question about problems, the pathologos, become a master of the pathologos, and question about excellence, become a master of the logos. That's our job as human beings. Not just human beings, all intelligent life who has reached this level of development that has the capacity for our excellence, which would therefore mean we also have the capacity to be tricked by con artists. So the meaning of life for all intelligent life that has evolved to the capacity to reflect on its own cognition and to do so with language. That's what makes us different from cabbages, cows, and cattle, ousia, and logos. So, anger. Normal, fine, challenging, but I love my parents. They are a saint. They sacrificed so hard. Yes, but they also did this. But I want to lie to save them. My daddy wants to pretend he's a knower. He wants to feel good. He feels sad when I question him. Too bad. You are not helping him by lying to him. You are not helping yourself by lying to yourself. That's Trumpism. Everyone lie about dear old Trump so he can murder children en masse. Whether it be on Epstein Island or in Iran, or children of America that he takes away social services from. Fuck that. You are not helping him by lying to him. Republicans, Christians, capitalists. You're not helping yourselves, you're not helping your soul. Now, so thumbs down. So that's providence. Our dreams or providence doesn't give you what you think you want, it gives you what you need. The doctor doesn't say, oh, what drugs would you like? Well, I'd like some cocaine, please, doctor. Sure. What's your illness? Stubbed my toe. All right, how much cocaine would you like? Oh, about 50? All right, here's 50 cocaine for your stubbed toe. That doesn't work. Imagine the pilot saying, imagine the surgeon going out to the waiting room. Everyone, let's take a vote. Should I make the incision above the artery or below? Oh, there's some people who vote for that one and some people who vote. That's insane. So as a midwife, we have to recognize that. You might come across people who have learnt their whole life that it's impolite to judge people. The Bible says respect your father and mother. How many fuckhead fathers and mothers have you ever met? All of them! To various levels. Or every idiot that happens to be a parent, yes, you better hope that their kids don't respect father and mother. But they do. Because they didn't know any better when they got the Stockholm Syndrome, when they got the false images. So, there are some people that you have to encourage. Hey, tell the truth. What would you call them when they're doing that? Get angry. Should we be angry at capitalism, religion, conservatism, that are torturing and murdering people en masse, destroying our species and planet, preventing us from having a fun life, participating in life because we're not an Epstein-class billionaire? Fuck yes. All that do to your question, to your problem. Now that you've seen the injustice, not just the injustice of the origin scene of your whole life and past, of your present, and how it's trapped you in a future. Not just in this lifetime, but unless you wake up and tell the truth, angry or not, your death will be terrible, your reincarnation will be terrible as well. Taking your karma, taking away, hey, you've nurtured yourself in this injustice, living a life where you've been perpetuating the very thing that you're here to remove. Do you think you'll get rewarded for that? Do you think Trump will get rewarded for doing the same racist, child abusive, murderous, scam artist injustice his parents did to him? You think he's going to be rewarded for that and how he dies, what he experiences after death, and whether or not he reincarnates into what? It's our moral and ethical responsibility for all people to learn this and escape that cycle of ignorance and injustice. So, problem in your present, past, and dictating your future. Congratulations. That puzzlement and recognition of a problem and seeing of that problem, and whatever anger, frustration, or any states that want to come with it, that's a level of enlightenment, son. Fourth oxherding picture within Zen Buddhism. Maybe. We're not doing the oxherding pictures now, but that's a level of usia, a level of question, a level of insight, a level of seeing your life as a whole now, level of enlightenment. So, new usia, new dialectic. That problem is the hyparxis. The top of the last one becomes the beginning of the next. Your definition that you're playing with you can now start with that origin scene, and that becomes your object of reflection. Can you do what you weren't able to do or didn't do at when you became initiated, and take everything we have been learning from our reading, from our bringing together our reading and the analogy, from becoming curious and puzzled and solving puzzles through the analogy, from everything we've been doing in our understanding of the truth of self-reality and enlightenment? Can we take all that back to this origin scene? Our ability to see the parts of what was really happening in that scene. To be okay with being puzzled and curious and stung, as we saw in the text. We have to go through that befuddlement, that puzzlement. That's where we are in the text. It was mentioned earlier, Joseph said to Aaliyah, you have to go through that doubt and puzzlement. It's part of it. And by the way, Joseph and Aaliyah are sharing that question, that higher question that they're puzzled about. Can you take that with your puzzle about how to address and overcome your problems? You'll need it now. So what are we learning? We're learning a true model of being our best, because we need to be our best when we face a meaningful goal. And congratulations, you are facing now the most meaningful goal you will face as a human being. We will all face as human beings. Can we overcome that cycle of anger, injustice, cruelty, harm, and violence, and free ourselves from our fate so we can be open to reach our destiny, our highest purpose and meaning? They don't get goals much more profound and meaningful and significant than that. Which means, because we haven't yet addressed our problem, because of the meaning of the scene, because of the meaningful nature of this goal, meaningful nature of this goal and activity, what did we just learn? We will want to be our best. Be best. What we've learned is, what's our model for being our best? The very problem we're seeking to address. In other words, when you're at this level of seeing, expect the counter-attack. Whether you like it or not, you haven't finished this midwifery dialectic, meaning this is still your model of the best. You haven't reflected on it enough. You haven't seen it enough. It's still there. Meaning, as you recognize your fate, the problem scene, the fake Dharma and initiation scene, your problem, initiation, Dharma scene, and fate question. Well, there's nothing more meaningful than that. In this lifetime, in every aspect of your life and relationships, and in your death, and in your reincarnation, this is likely to surface. Which means, how does that function? To block your higher participation, to keep you trapped within the Dharma, within the family clan. Expect, as a midwife or yourself going through as the pregnant party or the person facilitating that, expect counterattack. As this pattern is likely going to surface, the very problematic pattern that keeps you trapped in your problems, because now you're at your most meaningful goal. So what? So two things. So keep going, keep reflecting, keep doing dreams, keep reading, keep talking to people like the good heart and good head people you find here. Keep your cool. Hey, you've learned that there are patterns that human beings played out, ups and downs. What follows a high state is often a low state. It's part of the ups and downs of the roller coaster, baby. Keep your cool. Keep going. Keep your cool. Yeah, that's it. Keep going and keep your cool. Going involves keep reading, keep reflecting, keep doing your dreams, keep finding meaningful people to play this game with. That's all involved in keep going and keep your cool in the ups and downs. Actually, I think we started to develop a map of... Look at all those. I think we started to develop earlier on in the text a map of what's involved in the game. Where was it? Let's find it. What's involved in the game? The Hellenic game. There were certain principles that we derived, like keep your cool. I'll pause the recording. Oh, I found it. Hooray.
The T-virus will transform me into an epic creation.
They're secretly turned on by it.
Yeah, turn button. Here we go. So the principles that we had been bringing together earlier. Oh yes, your insights or spiritual experiences, use them for objects of reflection. Expect counterattacks from belief, especially right now. Share your ups and downs, insights and experiences, and understanding your reading, your midwifery, your dream analysis with others, also in the game. And on this journey, after insights or enlightenment experiences, keep going. Seek a personally meaningful and intelligible goal. We mentioned that today. Something that's rational, understandable, knowable, reflecting the self-logos, has an inherent hierarchy within the terms. Not the racist ones, the distortion, the imitation. Seek that goal with excellence and apply that process analogically to the logos and your ultimate goal of knowing mind, self, and mind. Okay. To knowing mind, knowing the self, and mastery of the dialectic. Okay, so fits, I suppose. We're saying expect a counterattack at this stage as we seek our best. Keep going, keep your cool. Keep the relationship going. Don't abandon. Don't fall into the old traps. And if you do, keep taking notes. Remember, you don't listen to your kakademon, the voice of the pathologos, literally. They're sending you messages that you can then apply to this so you can learn the art of midwifery and overcome your false beliefs. You need material to work with. That's why we read. That's why you get those thoughts, feelings, dramas, distractions, tangents that block you. Fortunately, we have been learning in our reading a different model of being our best. Everything we've been learning to bring the parts together through analogy, become okay with the puzzles and not knowing, and apply the dialect. So we'll put those down as well. So all of those things we've been developing through the analogy and the reading, we apply here. So that would be not that color. Is that the same color? No. Keep collecting and organizing the relevant terms that come up in your counterattack. Like we did in analogy, a mega analogy, like we did in our reading and analogy exercise. Keep being okay with questions and puzzles and not knowing and puzzlement. Let's find the terms from the text. That's always good to do. Now I'm outside.
You know what?
Fuck.
Suck my dick.
Hey. Just for being outside. Doubt. I think doubt. Yes, Joseph says if you want to learn, you have to see the issue and squeeze the answers out of the text. For us, squeeze the answers out of our dreams and our kakadaemon messages. But it's not easy to do because you have to pass through perplexity and doubt. That's inevitable if understanding is to be reached. So everything we're learning about how to read, we apply here where it counts the most. In the last quarter, when you have to do the shot.
Why do you need 50 bananas? So many bananas.
Yes. I was hoping for that final quarter quote, but 50 bananas is a lot of bananas. That's so many bananas. Also true. It's a lot of bananas. Don't know how that's relevant, Oracle, but I have to agree. You're right again. That's a lot of bananas. Keep being okay with questions and puzzles and not knowing and perplexity and doubt. Again from our reading and the discovering the puzzles. Whoops, I'm on the wrong page. Whoops.
Look at this broad.
Look at this broad.
I've been a bad little girl.
Oh my goodness.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Jesus Christ, Emma, don't say that. Our reading and our analogy. Also, keep applying the structure and method. Well, let's just say method. Keep applying the method of the dialectic. Remember how we turned our analogy into the dialectic up here? This is why you have to do them both together. Everything we're learning in the positive, we pull from as our model of actual excellence when it comes to the final quarter.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And
So we can joy max and
it's not being crazy. It's called reaching a higher sense of being.
reaching a higher level of state.
Hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
No, Emma.
You could be a gooner.
Oh, you can be a gooner. Keep applying the method and the state of mind that you were in. Logos and ousia. Method and state. State of mind. Or logos, the X and Y button, once again, logos and ousia. from the dialectic. Dialectic on our reading. Oh, so again, reading and dialectic. From our this from our reading and dialectic. In the counterattack, everything that you were doing up here, pull from it again, because you were literally doing your best. The dialectic is the best we can do. You doing it must have been an ideal state of mind of some kind, a clear state of mind, an open state of mind, a courageous state of mind. But not just the activity and state of mind, but use a different color. Use your insights and understanding again, Usia and Logos, different aspect of Usia and Logos. You got from your reading and the dialectic. What does that mean? That means as you've reached this deeper level of Usia, a deeper level of question, and seen so much about how it affects you, and the anger at it, and the desire to save your beloved images and not tell the truth to be polite or whatever bullshit you learned, that involves maintaining this ignorance and harm for your soul. When that comes up, to be your well because you've seen that because you've seen that significance, you have this new level of question, this new definition. Your automatic response, because your problems still have you haven't finished this midwifery yet, you're not free of it yet, will come up. Your false images of beauty, your false images of being your best, your false images of excellence, of knowing, of love, of goodness, excellence, knowing, beauty. Love's involved in that. Of mind, and self. In other words, as your expected counterattacks come in to be your best, don't do that. Continue to use that as material in your reflection. In other words, You're not just here. You can go back and forth. You can repeat. Oh, got some more information. Let's go back to the start. Is that a familiar state of mind? What words are coming up? You can go back to this dialectic and add more to it, or however you want to do it. The point is, hey, the very problem that you're in, oh gee, I saw my problem is whenever I get stuck, I be a real nasty bastard. So now, when you need to be your best to address your injustice or free yourself from your problems, you might start noticing you're being a nasty bastard. Good thing you've learned to recognize it in all of the talks and dream analysis talks and midwifery talks and reflection and continued reading over this entire relationship. You can notice it and recognize it. So you can take that problem and organize it. You can become curious about what's yet to be seen about it. And you can instead replace that with more of what you've actually learned about what it really means to be your best, what it really means to be your excellence, to be knowing, to be beautiful, to be strong. Maybe not knowing. Let's say strength, because you don't know yet, do you? Strength. In other words, this positive dialectic that you've done about understanding, you're learning about your excellence. That's a different model. So not only the method and state of mind of doing the method you can now use, but the understanding and insight that you gained from that, now you can pull from this work on the dialectic on your reading when you need it the most, in the fourth quarter where it all comes down to it.
Now we're getting into extreme Jordan Peterson levels
Jordan
of whimsy.
Peterson levels of whimsy.
Very interesting crap.
It is very, but it's not crap. What do you say, Emma?
You're a baby. You're a little baby.
That's insane. Like, you need help. There's no help, actually. You need a straitjacket.
So, all of the work we've done in the positive, in our reading, applied to analogy, here and here, in collecting and organizing the terms and being okay with not knowing and solving the puzzles, as well as everything we've been doing in our applying the dialectic to that analogy, in the method and your insights gained, now you can use them when you need them the most. You're not beholden to your old patterns of being your best that has kept you stuck in your problem. This ain't gonna work. This is the very thing you're trying to surface and free yourself from. This is your problem. This is your puzzle. This is your fate. Or rather, this is your puzzle, problem, fate. Don't use it now. Use all these other things. Or simplified, the different color. The answers and questions from how you got answers and nurtured questions from analogy on your reading, and your questions in the method and your insights and answers from dialectic. Questions and answers once again. Apply them here. Therefore, you have to be doing the both together. You really need it at this point. At the beginning of the third of the four dialectics, or to see as a one dialectic as a whole. Definition, demonstration, you're at the division stage of the dialectic, which means as a midwife, if you want to help people with your problems right from the beginning, your dreams, or you better be encouraging them to get into a book. So part of the rules is having your nose in the text. to learn the actual truth about enlightenment so you can distinguish it from the fake. So you can learn the actual truth about solving problems so you can distinguish it from your fake way of solving problems. So you can learn the actual truth about excellence so you don't have to fall into those old models, etc., etc. Now, if they don't listen to you, if this is a principle that's universally true, and your friend says to you, "Hey, I want to help. I want to remove my problems to reach my most meaningful goals. I've started collecting these clues," but they're still not in a text, and they're not listening to you. Hey, what about it's all relative? What about Socrates and Jesus, a dialogue in heaven? What about any of the Balboa translations of Plato? What about any of the Balboa translations of Homer? Those are the real three: Homer, Socrates, and Pierre Grimes. What about the Philosophical Midwifery book? Any of the essays and other dialogues Pierre Grimes has written? If this is a principle necessary for solving our problems, and they want to solve problems, and they're not listening to you, then we can predict their dreams are likely to give them instructions on doing this as well. So hey, I've been collecting problems. Well, first of all, while these are very, very helpful and even necessary, the best thing to do is start with a dream. And your dreams, well, you might even be able to anticipate that if they do start their dreams and they're not reading, their dreams are likely to tell them, "Hey, get your nose in a book. Start a reading." You know that Wembanyama from the San Antonio basketball team, the Spurs? He started a book club. Only one other team member joined it, but if Wembanyama, the great NBA player, can do it, then you can start a book club. So keep an eye out for that as a midwife facilitating dream analysis, which is the same thing. It's the same process of reflection. In fact, we've been using the dreams as a model as we've been going. So we need that in our back pockets as we now address the initiation scene, the fake enlightenment scene, the fake Dharma procession scene, the beginning of our fate, the great injustice that's the cause of our anger. We're now going to start from that puzzle, which would be deep within your mind now. It's going to be hard to ignore that now. Good. You want that sustained focus attention. That's part of that's necessary. That's the humanness. That's the becoming pregnant with a question. Now we are going to see, hey, how were they really functioning? How was the guru, your earliest teachers, actually functioning in that scene? That's the next stage. Good thing you've been reading along with us. Good thing you've been having fun in the funnest of all games. Has it been fun? Those kids seem to be having fun.
That's funny.
Emma finds it funny.
Why do you need 50 bananas? So many bananas.
Yes, 50 bananas is a lot of bananas. I can't argue with that. That is so many bananas.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know about the bananas. So, there's where we are. Helpful? Is it worth understanding how the self-fulfilling prophecy nature and the self-protective nature of our problems? Is it handy to know that there is no third option? You are perpetuating the very injustice you suffered. What's the principle? Do unto others as you have had done unto you. The golden rule that we are playing out as human beings. Does it help you become more invested in what we do? Finding other people that you care about, inviting them to play the game as well? But again, as the Oracle pointed out in that new sound drop, they won't do it unless they want to change themselves. You can't force someone into therapy. Was it worth understanding the nature of anger and how it functions with what we've been learning about belief and projection? Is it worth recognizing that you will have counterattacks? In fact, we saw that there's probably going to be a big one here, but in any stage, the principle is truth and humanness. At every introduction to new understanding or insight, there's likely to be some kind of counterattack from the beliefs trying to hold on to themselves. That's the human process. We will feel it as we go through it, but also that's necessary as we become midwives ourselves to recognize it in others, to help benefit people. That's the empathy along with the understanding. You need the intelligence and the empathy, the learning and the care, the logos and the ousia. Again, it's always those two things to participate in our highest function providentially. Fun? Interesting? Hey, do you have a greater thoughts? Do you have greater care for? Do you have a greater opinion about? Do you have a greater understanding of and value of the dreams that you're having? Are you going to be more likely to record your dreams tonight? Or tomorrow morning? As soon as you wake up, hit that record. Back in the day, you'd have to listen to it and type it up and rewind. It'd take me ages. But now we have these tools that do audio to text. You can use TurboScribe. You get 3 free a day. Pretty good. Something to talk about over coffee with people who are also intelligent and caring. Logos and ousia. People with a good heart and a good head. Because it's not a solo quest. Find friends to play with. So, helpful, significant, meaningful. Ooh. We gain an insight into anger and something to apply to your dreams as you reflect on them tomorrow. Fun? Let's see if we can finish the dialectic applied to solving human problems next time. The dialectic of dialectics. Thank you for our new chatter. Thank you for your thoughts. Really cool. I hope you had fun if you hung out. You can find a copy of the PDF below. You can join the Discord if you like. You'll get a notification when we go live. So you can jump on in and join us. If you want to donate to the channel, there is a link below. And I will see you in the next one. 50 bananas is a lot of bananas.